Yeah, I was born a normal baby, normal size, full head of black hair, okay? But I was a normal sized baby. And when I was about 7 years old, on the playground with my best friend, and she told me that I was so fat, you couldn't tell my butt from my belly because they both stuck out so far. That was at 7 years old that I realized that I was different. And up until then, I didn't know that I was different. And I'll never forget that day. And I see her face, and I'll never forget the face. And for the longest time, I would always think of her face and be sad. And it's like now, I look at her face, and I'm like, thank you, because you made me different. But what happened was, as I grew up, all I could think about was that I was different. And I wasn't huge, but I was bigger than most kids. So I got teased a lot, but I would go to bed every night and just pray that I would wake up skinny the next day. And it never happened. And I suffered a lot. Kids are mean. So when I got to be, I believe it was a junior in high school, I realized there was a lot of things I couldn't control, the teenage sadness, teenage confusion. There was a lot of things I couldn't control, but the one thing I could control is what I ate. And I stopped eating. And for about a year, I did the no eating, the binging, purging, but I lost a lot of weight. And I got down to really tiny. And I wasn't a different person then than I was when I was heavy. And people didn't treat me different then. Like I thought they would treat me better if I was thin, and I would be popular and I would have friends. And then I went to college. The most amazing thing is I go to college where nobody knew me, so nobody knew my history or anything about me. I was the most popular, almost the most popular person in this whole group that I was in. And I thought, this is so weird, because I went thin. And I still thought the reason that they liked me was because I was thin. But after college, I went back up. I got all the way up to 225, and I stayed that way. When I met my second husband, I was a 27-year-old widow, and he was a 20-year-old young kid. But he didn't look at me as an overweight person. He looked at me, and when we ended up getting married, and the way that he treated me was not. I learned that he didn't love me for the way I looked. He loved me for me, and that's when I was able. At that point, I started working out. I started eating right, and I got down to a size 6. I was bodybuilding, and I look back now, and that phrase, I wish I was as fat now as I was when I thought I was fat. But I was very healthy and into bodybuilding. And what happened to me, and this is kind of like a prelude to where I am right now, as far as at the age of 37, the whole hormonal thing sets in for women. And I ended up gaining like 40 pounds. And I was still working out, still watching what I ate. And I gained about 40 pounds. I was diagnosed with hypothyroid, premenopause, fibromyalgia. I went through depression and everything, but I gained the weight. And for probably about 13 years, it was like steadily gaining a few pounds here and there. I went from a size 6 back up to like a size almost, it should have been a size 16, but I wouldn't buy that size. I just wore my 14s and unbuttoned them. So basically, I kind of had given up. I just realized, well, my husband loves me. This is me. I'm destined to be this size. And after Judy told me about Skinny Fiber, and I didn't even take a before picture because I'm like, it's just another thing that's not going to work, but I'll take it. The first thing that I noticed within 2 days is my IBS, which I suffered with most of my life, was gone. For about a year, because of the whole hormonal menopausal thing, I'd had bloating every day, and the bloating was down. And probably within a week, it's just I felt better. It wasn't like an energy where you jumped around and you were shaking all day. It was just like you were awake and you felt good. About 2.5 weeks, I noticed that I started to eat a sandwich and chips. And I ended up giving them to my dogs because I really didn't want it. And I knew something was happening, but I did not focus on weight loss. Once I noticed the other good things, I was like, even if I don't lose weight, I'm fine. So it was about 5 weeks. I put on a pair of jeans that I hadn't worn forever. and they were snug the last time I wore them. The whole day I walked around holding them up because they wouldn't stay up. So I've gone down about 3 sizes, depending on what brand, but the fact that I'm not a size 6 right now is not a big deal to me, because I might be chubby, but I'm not as big as I used to be. I'm healthy, and it's like I feel good, and I would rather feel good and have a little bit of meat on my bones than to not feel good about myself and look like a model. So, but I don't weigh myself, and that's the number one thing that I wish I could get across to women. Men, you can get on the scales because the number doesn't matter, but for women, get off the scales. It's been almost 3 years since I've weighed myself, and it's been the longest time that I've been able to just stick to something. I have a girl who lives about 45 minutes from me. She's a distributor, never met her before this. We would meet like every couple months for lunch and sit outside of Cracker Barrel for another 2 hours. If people walk by listening to us, they would think that we were actually crazy, talking about how amazing we feel, how it's totally changed everything. But you have to believe, and you have to be excited, and you have to believe, and you have to realize in order to get others excited and to get others to believe is they have to see it from you.